Most people don't realize it, but a huge part of their suffering has nothing to do with what actually happened to them. It comes from what they keep telling themselves about what happened. And once you see that clearly, your entire life starts to change. Because think about it, two people can go through the exact same situation. One person breaks down completely, while the other stays calm, adapts, and keeps moving forward. Same event, different suffering. Why? That's the question Marcus Aurelius spent years trying to understand, not as some philosopher sitting comfortably in peace, but as a man surrounded by war, betrayal, pressure, disease, and constant uncertainty. And yet, in the middle of all that chaos, he kept coming back to one powerful idea. Most suffering is created in the mind long before reality actually hurts us. And honestly, you can see this everywhere today. Someone ignores your message for a few hours, and suddenly your mind starts creating stories. They must be upset with me. Maybe I said something wrong. What if they don't respect me anymore? Nothing actually happened yet, but internally, the suffering already started. That's how the mind traps people. Not through reality itself, but through interpretation. Marcus Aurelius understood something most people never stop to question. Your thoughts are not always telling you the truth, and that changes everything. Because many people spend their entire lives emotionally reacting to assumptions, fears, imagined futures, and temporary feelings, based over conversations that never happen, arguments that only exist in their imagination, judgment from people who probably aren't even thinking about them. And the scary part is, after enough time, this becomes automatic. You wake up already stressed, already tense, already carrying emotional weight from things that haven't even happened yet. It becomes a habit, a mental addiction to suffering. And modern life quietly feeds this habit every single day. Social media makes people compare themselves constantly. One scroll and suddenly someone feels behind in life. Not because their life is actually terrible, but because they saw someone else looking happier online for 10 seconds. Marcus Aurelius would probably laugh at how easily human beings torture themselves with comparison. Because comparison creates endless dissatisfaction. There will always be someone richer, smarter, more attractive, more successful. If your peace depends on being better than everyone else, you'll never rest. And deep down, many people already know this. That's why even successful people still feel miserable sometimes. They thought achievement would end their suffering, but suffering caused by the mind simply changes shape. First, it's like, I'll be happy when I make money. Then it's like, I'll be happy when people respect me. Then it's like, I'll be happy when I finally feel secure. But the finish line keeps moving. Marcus Aurelius warned himself constantly about this. He reminded himself that external things are unstable by nature. Money changes, people change, status changes, health changes, public opinion changes overnight. So if your emotional stability depends entirely on external conditions, your peace becomes fragile. And that's exactly how many people live. One bad comment ruins their day. One rejection destroys their confidence. One inconvenience makes them angry for hours. Not because the event itself was unbearable, but because they gave the event control over their inner state. And this is where Marcus Aurelius becomes incredibly practical. He believed that suffering grows when we resist reality instead of facing it clearly. For example, imagine someone loses their job. Of course, that's painful. But then the mind adds extra layers. My life is over. I'm a failure. Nothing ever works out for me. Now, the person isn't just dealing with unemployment, they're fighting hopelessness, shame, fear, and self-hatred all at once. The mind turned one painful event into 10 different forms of suffering. And people do this constantly without noticing. They replay embarrassing moments from years ago. They obsess over things they cannot control. They demand certainty from an uncertain world. They expect life to always go according to plan. Then they feel shocked when reality behaves like reality. Marcus Aurelius trained himself differently. Whenever difficult things happened, he tried to separate facts from emotional exaggeration. That's powerful, because facts are usually smaller than the stories we attach to them. The fact may be, this person criticized me, but the story becomes, everyone secretly hates me. The fact might be, I failed once, but the story becomes, I'll never succeed. And once those stories repeat enough times, they start feeling real. That's how unnecessary suffering becomes an identity. Some people become so attached to emotional chaos that peace feels uncomfortable to them. Silence feels strange. Peace feels unfamiliar. So they unconsciously recreate drama, worry, and stress because it's what their mind has practiced for years. Marcus Aurelius believed discipline of the mind was essential for freedom. Not controlling the world, not controlling other people, controlling yourself, your reactions, your perspective, your emotions. Because when you cannot manage your own minds, life controls you completely. And honestly, this is why small things destroy so many people emotionally today. Someone unfollows them, someone disagrees with them, someone succeeds before them, and suddenly they spiral internally. But Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, people's opinions are temporary. Most judgments disappear quickly. Most things we panic about today won't matter in a year. And he was right. Think about how many things you deeply stressed about years ago that barely matter now. The human mind has a habit of turning temporary moments into permanent emotional disasters. And one of the biggest reasons people suffer unnecessarily is because they believe every thought deserves attention. It doesn't. Some thoughts are noise, some are fear, some are old emotional habits repeating themselves. You don't have to obey every thought that enters your mind. That realization alone can change someone's life. Because once you stop identifying with every negative thought, you create space between yourself and your emotions. You start observing instead of immediately reacting. And that space is where freedom begins. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. Even while leading an empire, he wrote private reminders to himself like someone trying to stay mentally grounded in a chaotic world. Because he understood the mind easily drifts towards fear, anger, ego, and anxiety if left unchecked. And honestly, that's still true today. Your mind can become your greatest tool or your greatest source of suffering, depending on how you train it. That's why peace is not something people accidentally discover. It's something they practice through perspective, through self-awareness, through accepting what cannot be controlled, through letting go of unnecessary mental battles. And maybe that's the real message Marcus Aurelius was trying to leave behind. Life is already difficult enough. Don't make it harder by fighting reality, beating fearful thoughts, and carrying emotional weight you were never meant to hold forever. Some pain is unavoidable, but a shocking amount of suffering is self-created. And once you realize that, you stop giving your mind permission to torture you over everything. You breathe differently, you think differently, you live differently. So the next time your mind starts spiraling over something small, pause for a second and ask yourself, is this situation truly hurting me, or is my interpretation of it hurting me? That single question can save you years of unnecessary suffering. If this video spoke to you, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with the biggest lesson you took from Marcus Aurelius' mindset. And remember, your mind can either be your prison or your freedom.